Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Well, I hope you had a good Thanksgiving. I definitely did. My family and we just kind of stayed in and did our own Thanksgiving, and it was wonderful. Now, for some of you, maybe a couple hundred of you, this is the second time you've heard me say that, and that is because I uploaded a video a few hours ago that I took down right away because I want to think it through a little bit more. The video was about this tendency that I see in some woke pastors where they just have this sort of visceral sort of bloodlust where it comes through in their rhetoric, it comes through in what their positions are, where they, like, it seems to be that they're promoting white blood. That's what they want. They're almost demanding it. We saw Eric Mason do it on the insurrection where he was saying how they should get a kill shot. He was calling for a kill shot. I did a whole video about that. And, we've seen Thabiti do it and all that kind of stuff. It's really disturbing and gross. So what I was going to do is I'm going to re-upload it, but I'm actually going to do a little digging to try to figure out where this comes from with this violent ideation, this not only violent rhetoric, but just these ideas that they just have this violence towards white people. It's really disturbing and gross. And so I'm going to put a little bit more work into that and then re-upload it. But I did want to do an upload today, and there's another, this article by Kenneth Copeland is the faith healer. This is K. Edward. Maybe his name really is Kenneth, and that's why he goes by K, because he doesn't want to be confused with the other Kenneth Copeland. So he's K. Edward Copeland. I don't know. But I'm just going to call him K. Edward Copeland. This guy, this guy wrote the prototype woke, social justice article accidentally. And this is so hilarious. I wanted to point this out to you. Here he is, K. Edward Copeland in all his glory. He is a council member for the Gospel Coalition. This is an important man. He's a made guy, if you know what I mean. Now, this was the article. This is it on the Wayback Machine, because I wanted to compare the old article with the edited one, because they did edit this. They made 2 edits on the 24th of November, which I didn't expect them to do, but they did. But even in the edits, they managed to get this all wrong. So here's what the editor's note from Colin Hansen in all of his infinite wisdom. The editor-in-chief of the Gospel Coalition says this: subsequent information has revealed that Jacob Blake was armed with a knife. Also, an earlier version of this article referred to Kyle Rittenhouse as a mass shooter. I regret these editorial oversights. Colin Hansen, editor-in-chief of the Gospel Coalition. Now, I'm sure that's what it was, an editorial oversight, but this is hilarious because what this article tries to do is say that Kyle Rittenhouse, the mass shooter, is what they originally called him. Now they just call him a shooter. So this is the difference. So when armed shooters, Kyle Rittenhouse and Dylan Roof, are apprehended without incident, and unarmed black people are killed out of fear that they might be armed, we have a more insidious problem than a few bad apples. So Colin Hansen, in his infinite wisdom, thinks that the big problem that we had was that we called them a mass armed shooter. And so he wasn't a mass, he was just an armed shooter. So I guess that solves everything, right? What Colin doesn't understand is that's not really what the issue that we had was. The issue we had was that you were calling an innocent man, Kyle Rittenhouse, a shooter in the same vein as Dylan Roof, who is a murderer. Like, Kyle Rittenhouse was not convicted, and it was very clear to everyone and also the jury that he did nothing wrong. He was obviously just defending himself. He was obviously had his life endangered, and he used his weapon that was legally possessed in his possession in a legal way. And now that we knew that then, because that's what it seemed very plain to everybody, and we still know that because the jury also knows that. But you're still here saying that he's an armed shooter and you took out mass for some who knows reason. That's not the issue, whether or not he was a mass shooter or just a shooter. He was a legal shooter. He was an in self-defense shooter, which is nothing like Dylan Roof. And of course, he was apprehended without incident because he wasn't a criminal. He hadn't done anything wrong. But this article tries to make it seem like, well, he just thought, he knew because we're so systemically racist that he could just walk around murdering people and like he wouldn't get apprehended because he's white. And that's because we're racist. And all these innocent, unarmed black people are getting shot, but all these armed, dangerous white people ain't getting shot. And that's unjust. That's what the case this article makes. But this editor's note, it's just, it's unbelievably hilarious because Because the two key aspects of this, in order for these two examples to fit this crazy man's narrative about how innocent blacks are constantly getting shot and dangerous whites are not, in order for those two things to happen, these two facts couldn't have been true. So the editor here is making it seem like these are small little things that they're just kind of incidentally, this was wrong. No, this is the whole thing. He's saying subsequent information has revealed that Jacob Blake, the innocent black guy who was unarmed and was shot up, he actually was armed with a deadly weapon. Am I taking crazy pills here? That changes the whole story. If he was armed with a weapon and then was killed as he was being apprehended, okay, maybe you don't like that, but that changes the whole narrative, because this narrative, and if you look, nothing has really been changed here. He's talking about unarmed black bodies as if they're not even human. They're just black bodies. I mean, that's another weird thing about this article, but this man has lied about that situation. He's calling it an unarmed black body, but in reality, as the Gospel Coalition now admits, he was armed. And then Kyle Rittenhouse over here was an innocent man. This guy is lamenting the fact that why would Kyle Rittenhouse be apprehended without incident, but black bodies are always apprehended with. This is not even true, by the way. This narrative is not true. Black bodies are constantly, taken into custody without incident and stuff like that. The media likes to promote certain ones. So this is all just nonsense and lies anyway. But if you're going with the narrative, if these two things are not true, that destroys the entire narrative. And that's why this is the perfect social justice article, because all social justice is just narrative. The facts be damned. They don't care what the facts are. It doesn't matter. The narrative is always the same. Black people are oppressed. White people are oppressors. Here's the oppressor right here. Killed someone in self-defense, but he's still the oppressor, so he's guilty. And here's the oppressed black man who was armed with a knife doing who knows what else. I didn't look into the story because I don't care. And he was the innocent one, clearly the innocent one. But those two facts are both wrong. Kyle Rittenhouse was an armed shooter, yes, but a completely legal in self-defense shooter, completely justified. Not like Dylan Roof at all. And so, of course, he was apprehended without incident. Of course, he was walking around and didn't expect to be arrested because he had done nothing wrong. That's the point. When you do nothing wrong, you don't expect to be arrested. Am I taking crazy pills here? Like, this editor's note should be enough to delete the entire article, because if these two examples are false, then, and these are the only examples he's talking about. He talks about Emmett Till. Okay, fine. That's from history. But the whole point was that I hate August because August, I saw the black bodies and the white bodies, and they're just not treated the same. Yeah, of course they're not. They're totally different situations. So this is the perfect social justice article because it illustrates, even as it's been edited, which I don't understand, again, why he thinks these edits don't cancel out the entire story, because this whole story is built on these false allegations from K. Copeland, who, I guess he's not a mass shooter, he's just a shooter. So that changes everything. Obviously, it doesn't. I don't know. Oh, man, it's just such a perfect example. This editor's note. These are not these are not small details in this narrative. These are key details in this narrative. And of course, these are false because the narrative is false. It just boggles the mind why he would choose these two things that are so clearly different, so clearly false, and use them to prop up his. Well, here's why. It's because this whole system, this whole ideology, it's all demonic. And so it has to subvert everything. He could have picked real examples of innocent blacks being shot, because there are examples of that. He could have chose one of those things. He could have chose a clearly guilty white person like just Dylan Roof. He didn't have to mention Kyle Rittenhouse. But he chose two things that subvert reality because he wants you to not believe what you see plainly with your eyes. It was so plain to us that Rittenhouse was defending himself. But he chose that one because he wants to completely subvert reality, God's reality. K. Copeland, I almost called him Kenneth again. He chose these things not because he thought they were true. It's precisely because he knew they were not true that he chose these things, in my opinion, because he wants to subvert justice. He wants to subvert reality. He wants the guilty to be innocent. The guilty to be acquitted. And he wants the innocent to be condemned. This is a pagan ideology, and so, of course, everything is upside down. Rushdoony noticed this a long time ago. It's not that the pagans don't have morality. It's not that the pagans don't have justice. It's they have an abomination of justice. They have a subversion of justice. Condemn the innocent and acquit the guilty. That's what they always want to do. That's my opinion of this. K. Edward Copeland chose Rittenhouse and chose this situation with Jacob Blake where he was unarmed, when he was obviously not unarmed. He chose these precisely because they weren't true. Because his whole system is built on lies and built on getting you to distrust what you so plainly see, what you so plainly know from the scripture. That's my opinion of why he chose this. It wasn't an oversight. Yeah, Colin Hansen here. I regret these editorial oversights. Well, maybe it was an oversight for you, Colin, because I'm sure that when a black person puts out an article, you don't want to edit it. You don't want to say no because then you're racist like everybody else. Colin Hansen doesn't strike me as a guy with too much backbone. Just my opinion. So maybe it was an oversight for you, Colin Hansen, but it most certainly was not an oversight for K. Edward Copeland. And honestly, if you really did oppose this article would not appear on your website anymore. It would be deleted. Anyway, I hope you found this video helpful. I am going to re-upload the video I posted before. I do want to put a little bit more work into it. I want to get to the bottom of this vicious, just sort of, again, it's bloodlust. That's what it is. Bloodlust from woke pastors. I hope you found this video helpful. God bless.